Hey, Dani K, come to you from Dani K Gym Wellness, and sorry I'm a little late with all this, but business calls. But so the answer to the poll question was, what weighs more, muscle or fat? Okay, so hopefully, and let me know if you're watching, or when you watch, if you're watching it live or if you watch it later on. Whenever you see this video, let me know if you took the poll. Like, give me some likes and loves if you took the poll question, if you answered the poll question. So basically, what weighs more, muscle or fat? Okay, so I have my little models and stuff for you. But and there's Bruce. So Bruce asked a question which was kind of that thing within that, but I couldn't give it away, right? So there's a couple of different things. What weighs more, muscle or fat? Well, when you're thinking about pound for pound, a pound of fat, a pound of fat and a pound of muscle, they both weigh the same. Okay, so, but now when you're speaking in terms of like volume, like how many, like when you have like, and I always use this with my clients, if you have like an area, okay, and I'm going to put this down for a second. So this is fat for y'all. Like a lot of times people come into the gym and it's like, oh, is that like one of those rock salt things? No, this is fat. This is a model of fat, right? And this is a model of muscle. So, the lumpy, bumpy things, that's fat. And when your muscle is all smooth and nice and everything, that's when it's all smooth, that's muscle, right? So basically, like if you have, it's kind of hard right here with this, but, like if you have like a general area, right? And let's just say within this, if you square it out, right? Within that, if there's, let's just say 10 pounds of fat that fit in there, right? If you put 10 pounds of muscle in that area, it might shrink to this, right? Because muscle is so much smaller, more condensed. So when you see like this pound of fat is a little bit more disproportionate, it's going to fill up a larger space than a pound of muscle, right? So when you're looking at like in terms of like, volume or like in an actual space, so in order for me, again, like if I just take this area and this is like, say 10 pounds of fat, right? So if I fill this with muscle, if I take all the fat out of that area and fill it all with muscle in there, it will weigh more if I fill it to the capacity, if you understand what I'm saying, right? Because the muscle is so much smaller and more condensed, you can fit more muscle pounds within that area, right? So then it's going to weigh more. But when you actually speak technicalities, what weighs more, muscle or fat? A pound is a pound. If you have a pound of feathers and a pound of bricks, it's still a pound, right? You might have like one brick, I'm just going to say, 2 bricks. Let's say one brick might equal a pound, but you might have 3 garbage bags of feathers that equal a pound. So the space, in which a pound of fat fits in versus a pound of muscle, right? So when you're looking at losing weight on the scale, for instance, if I did your body fat, like I do body fat calibrations, I do the pinch test, there's a 9-point site that I do, and I plug all that information in, blah, 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 and it comes out to what is your body fat percentage, and then it plugs down to, how many pounds, like if you weigh, for easy numbers, I'm just going to say if you weigh 100 pounds, whatever, or let me say it this way, if you weigh 150 pounds and 25 pounds is fat, then you have 125 pounds that is muscle, right? So it with my calibrations and everything, it breaks it down and it shows you like not only what your body fat percentage is, but it shows you how many pounds of your 150 or whatever it is that you weigh, how many pounds is fat and how many pounds is muscle. So then actually when you're working out, when you're trying to see your different results that you're trying to see, and most want to lose weight, so you want to lose fat pounds, not muscle pounds. So that's where the efficient workouts work, right? and the proper nutrition works, because proper nutrition is going to, and effective workouts are going to make you lose this, not this. So in the Dani K meal plan, you will lose this, not this. Now, if you do lose, sometimes it depends. Sometimes you might lose this a little bit. So if we're talking like if you lose 5 pounds, and I do your body fat calibrations again, maybe a month later, 2 months later, or whatever. So we see, maybe the scale goes down 5 pounds, so maybe you lost maybe half a pound of muscle, or maybe you lost a pound of muscle, but the majority of what you lost was body fat. And that's okay, because sometimes, we're trying to find the right numbers, find the right calibrations, find the right workouts. Sometimes, it's not, perfect. It's like, here's the blueprint, but sometimes we have to, manipulate certain things to make it work for the individual itself, right? So also that said, if I'm doing your body fat, if you weigh 150 pounds and I do your body fat percentage, and, let's say you lose... let's say you're 20% body fat, right? And then you lose 5%. A month later, you lose 5% body fat. So that takes you down to 15% body fat, right? And I'm just throwing these numbers out. So you weigh 150 pounds, you're at 20% body fat. So a month later, you lose 5% body fat. So now you're at 15%. But let's just say you stayed 150 pounds. People are like, well, how is that possible? Muscle weighs more. Like, why am I, why didn't I gain or whatever? So muscle doesn't weigh more, but in the capacity, like in your body, I messed up. So like, how people like pull their pants away, right? So if your pants, is full out to here, but then you have less body fat, you have more muscle. So if you lost 5 pounds of fat, if you lost 5 pounds of fat and you gained 5 pounds of muscle, you're still 150 pounds, right? Pound is a pound, right? So muscle in that sense, muscle doesn't weigh more than fat. It's just if we're filling in a specific area of body fat, like if body fat in here, and we fill that with muscle, it's going to be more poundage, because muscle is more condensed, it's smaller. Like a pound of muscle is smaller than a pound of fat. So it is possible to lose inches. People always say, well, how do I lose inches? And I didn't lose, the scale didn't change, right? And I keep looking over there because the scale's there for those of you that don't know. So if y'all are getting this, like, give me some likes and hearts, right? You know what I mean? Like give me some likes and hearts to let me know, because I see everybody's watching, and I know I'm probably at like a certain wow factor that, some people are like, whoa, like I didn't really realize that. So yes, if you weigh, like if I do your body fat percentage and your body fat percentage shows that, you dropped whatever body fat percentage, but then you lost 5 pounds of fat muscle or fat pounds, and then you gained 5 pounds of muscle and the scale didn't change. That's why the scale doesn't change, is because for every pound, and I'm just throwing out these numbers. I'm not saying that this can actually exist or does exist. It might here or there or whatever. But for every pound that you lose of fat, if you gained a pound of muscle, the scale's not going to change, but you're going to notice the baggy clothes. The clothes are fitting looser, right? So a lot of times that's what I always, we use the scale as a guide, but the body fat percentage is so much better. The inches is so much better of a scale, of a calculation, you know what I mean? Like to actually see that we're actually doing something, because especially women, we get so tied up on that scale. It's like, oh my God, I got to lose 60 pounds. Well, what if you can lose 40 pounds, but look the way you wanted to, you know what I mean? So it's like, because you're, you might be, you're losing this much fat, but you're gaining this much muscle. So that's why the scale didn't go down as much as you wanted it to. But you're in that size that you wanted to be in. Does that make sense? Give me some likes, hearts. Let me know that y'all are like following this along. If you have any questions, let me know while you're watching this. Jot down, type out some questions. It gets a little confusing, and I'm hoping that I'm, sharing it out there correctly, or in the capacity that y'all are understanding. So, what weighs more, muscle or fat? A pound is a pound. Now, like Bruce was getting a little technical on me, and I was like, I didn't want to say anything. But if you're trying to fill up, let me see. this garbage can, right? So if we take this garbage can and fill it up with, you know, all these pounds of muscle, right? Let's just say it's 30 pounds, well, 50 pounds, whatever pound of muscle or fat that it is, you know, because a pound of fat is larger and more bumpier, takes up more space than a pound of muscle. It's going to take more muscle to fill this trash can up, right? So therefore, the trash can now with more muscle in it, with all muscle in it, will weigh more, but there's going to be more poundage in there, right? So because this is a lot smaller than your fat. So that's kind of where it's at. It's not necessarily weight, it's the volume. So that's why when you're losing, or when you're in the gym and the scale's not moving, but the clothes are looser, that's what's happening. So you're losing the fat and you know, kind of gaining the muscle, and it doesn't really happen that completely that quick per se. But there is that not really transfer, but you know, because I don't like to say that you can turn fat into muscle. You don't turn fat into muscle. That's another misconception. This doesn't just turn into fat. This burns away and you build more of this. Make sense? Like, hearts, talk to me, right? You know, so that is, I'm going to kind of like scroll through and see what I got. There's Keith, there's Michael. What's up, Mike? Carol, DJ, Dan, Laura, Bruce, Nikki, Christina. Okay, so I'm trying to explain it the best that I possibly can without like visually having you here. So does that make sense? Likes, hearts, makes sense? Do you agree that if something is bigger and then something is smaller, the things that's smaller, like this muscle is smaller, a pound of muscle is smaller than a pound of fat, so it's going to take more muscle to fill this trash can, so therefore it will weigh more. But in actuality, a pound of muscle and a pound of fat is a pound, right? So it's kind of a trick thing, you know. So like when people come in and say, "Oh, I know the scale didn't change because muscle weighs more than fat." It's not that cut and dry. It's not that simple. Muscle technically does not weigh more than fat. It's just muscle. A pound of muscle is smaller than a pound of fat. So therefore, more pounds of muscle can fit into the space where your pounds of fat is. So then it kind of like shrinks it down. So again, if we have, I'm just going to use this space again. So if we have 10 pounds of fat that fit in here, if we put 10 pounds of muscle in that space, it's going to condense that space down to here. So we've lost how many inches, right? So that's why, so we didn't gain any more weight. This is 10 pounds of fat. This is 10 pounds of muscle. It just fits, 10 pounds of muscle fits into a smaller area than 10 pounds of fat. So the inches shrunk, but the weight still stays the same because a pound is a pound, right? So hopefully y'all got that. You know, if you're watching on a replay, you know, still give me some likes and hearts that you're getting it. Tell me that you're watching it on a replay. If you have any other questions about it, you know, leave me some comments. Bruce was kind of like in my poll question, Bruce kind of got what I was saying. So that was the trick. So the trick is, as I, who was it? Was it Suzanne? Somebody I can't remember the name. I can't remember who said, but a pound is a pound. So that's the tricky part. A pound is a pound. So muscle does not weigh more than fat. Fat doesn't weigh more than muscle. A pound is a pound. But in the space, if you will, if you're plugging in 10 pounds of fat, and then you're trying to plug in 10 pounds of muscle, the space is going to get smaller. Or if you're plugging in, if this is 10 pounds of fat and you try and fill that same area with muscle, then it's going to weigh more. So let's just say we filled it with 15 pounds of muscle. So it's not that muscle weighs more than fat. It's just that in that area, we could fit more pounds because the muscle pounds is smaller. than the fat pounds, so we can fit more in, right? Capiche? Give me some likes, give me some hearts, tell me that I'm doing it. So anyway, so if y'all have any other questions, comments, concerns, whatever, I'm here to help you on your fitness journey. This was always like a visual whenever somebody comes into my gym and they see this. Again, they're like, oh, is this the steak and this is a rock salt? No, it's not. It's fat and it's muscle. It's a pound of fat and a pound of muscle. So I have visuals here at the gym, right? So we kind of get into little conversations or whatever, and that was one conversation that we were having this morning, about the misconception of muscle weighing more than fat. Pound is a pound, right? It's just we can fit more. Like if you take that space, you take that volume, if we take that 10 pounds of fat out of that area and fill it all up with muscle, it's going to weigh more because muscle is smaller, it's more condensed, so we can fit more poundage in there, right? So hopefully that kind of like helps explain, that whole misconception. It's not that muscle weighs more than fat. It's just within that space, you can fit more muscle in it, or that's why if this is 10 pounds of fat and this is 10 pounds of muscle, that's why you lost 3 inches on your stomach and you didn't lose the weight, right? So there you have it, right? So muscle is actually smaller than fat, but a pound of muscle is actually smaller than a pound of fat. But a pound of muscle still weighs the same as a pound of fat. It's just smaller, more condensed, more purtier. See? So anyway, so hopefully that kind of helps y'all with the thought process of muscle and fat and all that. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them. Tell me how this helped you. Tell me like some aha moments that you had with this video. Give me some likes and hearts. Share this video. If you have any other questions that I can help you on your fitness journey, leave them, private message me. Dani K Gym Wellness on Facebook, DaniKGymWellness.com. And until next time, stay in tune, stay informed, stay motivated. Bye.